Welcome back to the Crafted Conversation with me, Marcus Sharrod. I'm here this week with Adam Clark. Adam is a UEFA A licensed football coach, and all things football is where we're going to be going today. Adam's got a really varied experience in the game. Currently supports coaching at Step 2 with Slough Town, being in the National League South. Adam also is part of a business, Part to Pro, which looks at taking those with intention to work in the game full time, of which we know there are so many, both coaches and players, and supporting them through their development, coach development, player development, skill development, to get to the level that they need to be to try and impact the game in a way that they hope to. Really excited to find out more about that and to give Adam the opportunity to discuss his approach when it comes to that coach and player development. Adam's also a great voice on LinkedIn, big plug there, and I'll obviously put a link into the show notes, but I really appreciate the work that he puts out for us, those of us that consume it. In a world where lots of people put out lots of stuff, I really recommend what he's writing about. He's on the money, and particularly the kind of learning lens which he puts on that, which I'm sure comes from that coach development angle, and is one that listeners of the Crafted Conversation know is certainly an expertise here. How we marry learning environment, learning design, and learning critique to create the crafted concept, the craft of human growth and development. Adam, thanks so much for being here, mate. Appreciate it. This is a brief pause in today's Crafted Conversation to talk about how the crafted concept, the overarching business that supports the Crafted Conversation, both in newsletter and in podcast form, can best support you in your performance environments. The crafted concept has experience working in the education and elite sports sectors through performance coaching for individuals or for teams, the learning environment, by focusing on those three pillars of the crafted concept of performance: learning environment, learning design, and learning critique. Contact me directly because I can help you, as I have done on many occasions, developing a sense of cohesion within the team. Performance coaching aims to drive individuals and teams to excel. And as a performance coach, I am an expert in areas of teaching and learning, instructional design, motivational psychology, team development, performance culture and environment, and performance mindset. It's my job to generate activities, use questioning, listening, observing, probing techniques to deliberately seek feedback and present opportunities for lateral thinking and inspire growth and ideas for you as an individual or for the performance of the team and the collective. The crafted concept is your accountability partner, is your critical observer. I'm able to draw upon experiences as an expert teacher and instructor and as an expertly qualified executive coach, performance coach with over 100 hours worth of coaching experience. As a coach developer in elite sport, I can support and guide coaches through the complexities of your professional development, of your professional environment, offering structure and assisting you in refining your skills through learning environment, learning design, and learning critique. Contact me directly, Marcus at thecraftedconcept.co.uk, or look me up on LinkedIn, Marcus Sharrod. As you know, and as listeners know, there's always the same question that I start with, and that very simply is, what do you consider your craft to be?
Yeah, I got that question now probably 6 to 8 weeks ago. Had the opportunity to listen to a few others that you've put out on the podcast. And it wasn't until probably yesterday really that I come to a conclusion of really what I wanted to say. I mean, from the football coaching background, you can come up with cliches and generic answers, if you like. I mean, you could say you wanted to be a top manager, that you encourage hard work and you want to develop the best players possible. But I really wanted to give a really good detailed answer. And I think if I use my past as a foundation to build on, I didn't play professionally. Quite frankly, I wasn't nowhere near good enough. So it was a case of starting from zero, which many coaches will resonate with. And it's where do you go, you know? So obviously this is just a summary. You consume a lot of information over the years. You interact with a lot of people, try and take as much as you can. You be a sponge, so to speak. But it wasn't until probably around 2016, 2017 where I really wanted to know more and understand what the game is. What is the game? What is football? and what is coaching, because I think they both go obviously hand in hand. Anyone who works in any discipline of sport, it'd be the same. So do you really know the subject you're working in, and do you really know what coaching is? So I'd like to think that the people I've worked with, coaches, the players that have been under my leadership in the past, hopefully they'll be able to confirm that hopefully I've given them a platform where they actually understand the game more. So if I was to say the craft, I'd say really my knowledge base is in what the game is, and what coaching is.
Yeah. Easy in for me. What is the game?
11v11, 2 goals, a ball, and away you go. Quite simply, I think sometimes coaches, analysts, fans, talk shows, television shows, pundits sometimes get confused. Maybe there's a lack of clear language sometimes. Universally, some people talk at the level of subjective application opposed to objective fact. That obviously takes people off in different directions. So the game of football in its essence is how we see it. 11 against 11. You've got the 2 goals, you're defending something, you're trying to score in something, and ultimately the overarching intention of the game is you want to try and score at least one more goal in another team and win.
In a low-scoring game. And what I really value the simplicity in your response there, and I wonder how you'd maintain that simplicity in a game where we know at the kind of level that we work at in the game, there's in possession, there's out of possession, there's in transition, there's different types of press, there's routines, there's goal kicks, there's hybrid positioning, inverted positioning. How is that simple?
You just, like you summarised there, there's a lot of words you use that maybe might not be contextual to the game.
Mm-hmm.
So to keep it in its simplest form, like you have the ball, you're attacking, you're either creating the chance and then converting. When you're defending, you're trying to prevent and neutralise. There's discussions widely on social media and platforms about teams that play in transition, etc. But realistically, you're probably only in transition for a second or two, especially in the Premier League, because the game's so fast. You regain the ball and then you're attacking again, or you lose the ball and then you're defending. And then you touched on there inverted positions or something. When that's just again the level of the application, So that's how a manager or coach might want his team to play, her team to play, or even, which it can happen in the game, a player might unconsciously get into that position without even realising, because the game's dictated it and they've ended up there.
Yeah. Is it a game of possession or is it a game of space?
But you take possession, if you define possession, there's only one person who can be in possession of the ball, So there's only one person with the ball.
Yeah, interesting.
So say in possession team, it's not really clear definition, There's only one player with the ball. The team are attacking. So that's what you want to. That's what you're doing. The intention of attacking is you want to try and score, and then the possession, the passing or the moving of the ball, should we say, that a lot of people talk about. That's just a tool to get to the other end of the pitch in order to try and score.
Yeah, interesting. I value your strong belief in your own understanding of what the game is and the way that you've been able to maintain that simplified language when discussing, like, the jargon, if you like, as you've said. It's lots of words, lots of language, but one person's got the ball and one team's trying to score in one of the goals.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You see a lot of, we can say the word jargon and stuff like that. These words come from a good place. I don't think someone would ultimately just invent a word for the sake of inventing a word. There could be a coach out there, or a group of coaches that may come with a term and then associate themselves with the term, and they believe in that term and then they become the term themselves.
Yeah.
But ultimately, to keep the game in its purest form, you want to be clear to your players, you want to be clear to the press, the fans. If you're speaking to these types of people, you need to have clear, like, action language so they can understand exactly what you're saying, and you've got to be able to describe stuff.
I think like anything, when you look at it at a macro level, you can do societally, politically, and within the game of football. If you've got a real true understanding and curiosity for the history of the game, something like the Inverting the Pyramid, Jonathan Wilson's book, History of Football.
Yeah.
It's been around, it's come around, having inverted wingers playing in inside left, inside right positions. It's happened in the 70s, 80s. Having that kind of like total football, move it. It's happened. That was Cruyff at Barcelona. It's or it was the Dutch teams. There are various ways of playing a very easy game.
Yeah, I mean, that book, I've got the book. I mean, sounds like you've got it. A number of coaches will have that book, and without those books, really starting the discussion, maybe. Yeah. There's been books since that maybe people use, the literature, and maybe there's other people, authors, analysts that have maybe a deeper understanding of the game. But ultimately, what you say is obviously there's few different examples in the book. We've had unbelievable teams in the last 20 to 30 years, and even before that, even before I was born, obviously, like there's been so many famous players, famous teams, famous managers for reasons that fans associate with the greats of the Brazil 70 and stuff like that, the Germans, even England in 66. I mean, we can't forget that. But ultimately, it's just how teams have played, at that time.
So that choice comes down to the coach. That's the coaching philosophy, the game strategy, the belief system, the values of what the game is and how the game should be played that comes from the head coach. And so the second part of my question that you teed up very nicely for me is, you said your expertise is kind of like understanding what is the game and what is a coach. Well, what is a coach? What is coaching?
So, if you look at a simple one, if you actually typed it in Google right now, you get a split second, you get an AI overview of someone who can help improve an individual or group of people, and with it, the term coach, I mean, there's different ways you could go on this chat, but you could do your introduction to coaching, as what it's called these days, your old level 1 in England. You do your online stuff for a couple of weeks, and then you get your certificate, and now you're a coach, and you're thrown out into the deep, when really that's not what a coach is. And you get people, I'm a coach, and calling themselves a coach. It's like, are you really understanding the essence of a coach? Have you got the tools to help? Have you got the tools to understand? Have you got the tools to guide people? And with that, it's never ever a smooth process. As you know, you work in football yourself. It's very unpredictable. So are you able to adapt in situations? Are you able to reflect, evaluate? All of that comes into it to ultimately help your players. And obviously you want to try and get a better team to win games.
And that kind of anecdotal AI summary overview, what is a coach? Well, that to me doesn't sound any different to a teacher, doesn't sound any different to an instructor. Essentially, are we saying that a coach is someone who imparts learning on a group or an individual?
Yeah, so I mean, as a coach, as a teacher, you can't by definition improve people. It's impossible. I can't improve you. I can't improve every single player, because if you can improve people, you can improve every single football player on the planet. It's impossible. You can help. It's up to the player. It's up to the coach. If they're in an education program, it's up to them. If they learn, they take the information, and this is where maybe sometimes within the industry, where football, what it's like, where people get into positions based on experience instead of the knowledge. And then are you getting into these positions, and when you're working with top professionals, you just sharing previous experiences, or you're actually giving them knowledge and the information, the detail that they actually need to improve. And that's kind of the difference.
Yeah. So in the work that you do then with coach development, player development, and I'm thinking kind of less the coaching that you do at Slough now, because obviously their players, they have in essence within certainly the English pyramid made it. I don't know, are you part-time, full-time?
Yeah, it's a part-time / full-time role.
Yeah. Sorry, I meant the players as well.
Oh yeah. The players, the first team are part-time. Right. Below that, the younger lads they're full-time.
Yeah. And they in essence have made it, so we're part of that. But the part to pro stuff, I'm really interested in about how you can take package learning and what that looks like when you offer it to players or to coaches, in essence, to help them try and break that glass ceiling where the base, talk about the base of the pyramid as a player being so wide in the game of football. That goes for coaches as well, because the glamour, the romanticism, the love, the inherent like cultural right that is football in this country is bordering on impossible statistically to break through. So what kind of work are you doing?
Yeah, it is. And that's this, before I go further, I guess that's where I was as a coach at the start.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, you got, I don't even know, I couldn't even tell you now how many coaches there is in England at the moment with an intro, the UEFA C, UEFA B, UEFA A pro license. I can't tell you that. Same with professional players within, or I wouldn't say professional, children in academies, all chasing the same dream, On top of that, you've got universities that are offering platforms, later education. So that, for example, and there's no emotional association with this at all. It's off the top of my head, maybe an analysis course. So if you're in analysis, every year they're churning out hundreds of new analysts. Everyone's the same. Everyone coming from the same carbon copy, the same FA pathway. Everyone's going through the same funnel, all chasing less, for example, 92 jobs at the top. I know everyone's intentions are that, but we would use it for this example. So to take it and try and learn and get further is obviously what a lot of people want to do, and understanding coaches, understanding players, what their intentions are. Your question was based around the Park to Pro stuff, and that's something along the lines of, if you are a grassroots coach or you are a UEFA A licensed coach, everyone will have an intention of some sort. If it's dad from down the road, he might be his intention might literally be to make sure that children have a safe, fun environment, they enjoy their football on a Saturday. Brilliant. Okay, so that's what he wants to achieve. How can he do it? So he might need tools to help him in challenging situations, i.e. children with additional needs or something. So they may need help with that. Then you have your other end of the spectrum. You've got your A licensed coach who's been unemployed for a few years. Why am I not getting an opportunity? I don't know. But sometimes when you have these conversations, it could just be something as little as being stuck in that same cycle of thinking, same loop of thinking, doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. And ultimately linking it back to what I said previously, like, what is your understanding of what the game is? Can you really dissect it? Can you see what's happening, or are you just on the how wavelength and you're stuck here? I just want to play one way. I just want to do things this way, and then hopefully I pull something off. But in the meantime, as well, I also get a few friends, and they might be able to get me a job.
So if I'm an A licensed coach, like you say, there are 92 jobs, but let's have it right. The top 20 are almost out.
Yeah.
Premier League is out. So then let's say there's 144 jobs, right? Because you've got 72 in the National League as well, and they're proper jobs. And there are many Step 3 clubs actually with investing in such a way that feels like a proper job. So there are, as you say, that 144, you go, oh, okay, bloody hell, I'm listening to Marcus and Adam talk here. That seems like a lot of jobs, but it ain't a lot of jobs given the number of coaches out there, A licensed coaches. There will be in their thousands, wouldn't they?
Yeah, for sure. But we shouldn't even pigeonhole it to A licensed coaches. You've got to include your pros, you could be licensed as well.
Yeah.
And there'll also be coaches that won't hold the certification, but they're still good. They just haven't got the piece of paper, And then we won't go into it today, but there's the argument and the frustration that you often see on social media, the people who apply for the course 10 times and they've been rejected 10 times, you know, but that's a different conversation. They're striving to get better. It's the chicken and the egg. You need a certificate maybe to get into the academy, but then if you're in the academy, you might need something else to get somewhere else. So it's all interlinked, you know.
It's interesting, isn't it? And that's where I find the sort of storytelling around those that go elsewhere, apply their trade in a different environment, get out of that kind of the rat race of going chasing these qualifications in this country. Those that go to the FA of Wales, those that go over and apply their trade. Potter's a good example, isn't he, with the Sweden, and Hodgson before that, or Will Still now coming in to Southampton post being in France. They're interesting stories, but they're stories because there are very few who can go and do that for obvious reasons. Leave your home country, many with families, go elsewhere and try and ply your trade. It's interesting, isn't it? What's the start point for these guys, these frustrated individuals that come to you? What is the first piece of advice when they come through the door?
Well, I've been in that situation. That's literally the first thing I've said previously. I'll be honest, I was the same. At the beginning, it was about chasing. You're chasing the next qualification. You want the next badge. There was an element of recognition. Oh, I've got it. Not so much an ego-driven decisions, but it was the case of like it comes with, I've got my UEFA B. Now I've got my UEFA A license. But you know what? When you get into that environment and then you cross the line, for sure there was a sense of enjoyment and pride. But ultimately, now you're through it. Actually, it isn't actually much different, And there's so much more other stuff you can do around UEFA qualifications at the moment that's available that you can learn so much from. And it is just about opening people's eyes to that. And it is hard because some people are literally waiting for years and then they need it to get into the next job or go up to the next pay scale, and that relates to home life with bills. It's so vast. And then you do see cases where people, they chuck it in. They had enough. It's like, I can't do it anymore. And they give up, which is probably the worst thing to do. I think if you've got a dream, why not chase it and keep going and pushing and doing as much as you can. And that's where ultimately a lot of my education has gone outside of the UK. And I've gone elsewhere just for different reasons and stuff. So there is opportunities for people, just to build understanding. And then when that opportunity does come, you're going to be ready, and for sure you're going to excel and get the badge you need.
What's out there then? What's out there that you recommend that coaches go to that's beyond the sort of traditional, off the traditional path, if you like? Is it what types of learning create a more holistic and then ultimately more employable coach?
Myself, I do a lot of education with Football Coach Evolution. That's managed by Raymond Verheyen. He has a really good platform. That's my opinion there, but obviously it's a really good platform that I've benefited from for a number of years, that I've been fortunate enough to progress through. Met many coaches on that, and it's opened my eyes up to many different things outside of the football. I know we spoke previously. There's people such as Shane Parrish. He's released a number of books, and I know he does some courses. James Clear, obviously, he's a famous one with the Atomic Habits. And I think you can see where this is going. It's all stuff maybe to do with this, the brain, how we're going to learn with that. And I know like you said previously, you're a school teacher, so there isn't any reason why, obviously with certain constraints, obviously some people might be a little bit older and can't obviously do it, but going into similar professions as transferable skills, and honing your craft and building your toolbox.
Yeah. Well, obviously, that's where the crafty concept gets a lot of success. That's why I work in football. I believe strongly, and listeners know, that instructional practice, expert instruction, expert teaching, expert approaches to feedback, to learning, to assessment are gonna drive performance in any arena. And it's one that is underlooked in the game. I'm interested, what other sports do you admire for their coach development?
If I zoomed out there and then maybe looked at some of the more popular ones. So if we were to say, for example, if we look at countries first, if you were to say somewhere like India, I'm only saying that just off the top of my head because we just played them in the cricket. So maybe you could look at India for your cricket. You've got the US for the American football, hockey, Canada, especially with hockey, that's as well. So those types of sports, most definitely you could take lessons from. There's some real famous examples, obviously through the NFL. There's many books. There's John Wooden, isn't there? There's a lot of stuff that's been released in the past. And if you were to even go even further, could you look at maybe not so much? I don't think it applies to football, but maybe more individual coaches. So someone who worked with Usain Bolt, people like that who really understand what they're working with. Like really understanding the sport. If you were to go into the Olympics. You've got the cycling and stuff like that, gold medalists that you could obviously associate yourself with, and people who could really, really give different lessons. I've actually got something going out on LinkedIn tonight. People will see it at a later date, but regarding leadership as well, which is someone within football, but not specifically a football person.
And you mentioned LinkedIn, and that leads in nicely to my next question. Actually, is kind of it's as a platform. It's one that you appear to be quite invested in. As I mentioned in the intro, I think some of the articles and the bits and bobs that you're writing about are astute and thoughtful. What's most on your mind at the moment in the type of things that you're sharing? You just mentioned you've got one tonight on leadership, but what else is on your mind about the world of coaching that in such a way that you share so often?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. So if I rewind to New Year this year, so I sat down and I thought I didn't find myself stuck, but I try and reflect and evaluate as much as I can. And then you can only speak to the same people so many times and air your thoughts and discuss stuff. And it was the kind of, I was kind of stuck. So I was like, how can I get thoughts out onto paper and then get those paper out? So I thought, you know what, I've been on LinkedIn for a number of years, but I never really used it. So I went back on, started putting some posts out, it picked up a bit of interest. Started getting private messages, people asking questions. And I thought, you know what, this is something that I'm going to try and promise to myself to do. There's so many people that haven't got time to evaluate, or they get stuck in work or family life, and then before you know it's the next session and it's gone, and you've lost the train of thought or any golden nuggets that might have popped up and you haven't even written them down. So I was using it as a reflection tool. So a lot of sessions that I might have put on, initial thoughts that I had, put it on paper, posted it on LinkedIn. Then I tried to link it with some more philosophical lessons, if you like, that might help. And then it picked up a bit more, and then I started seeing stuff, and I was seeing what people were writing. I was like, you know what, maybe I was getting ideas off it, so it fueled it more. Ultimately, the intention, it's for myself. It's good to expose myself. I can't just put a random post out to thousands of people. I usually write them, sleep on it, review the next day, change bits. Does it actually make sense? How can this actually help someone else? And maybe, hopefully, it's shown a mirror to quite a few people, because I've had it done to myself. I've had the mirror shown to me a number of times. It is uncomfortable, but it's helped me massively. And I think there's a lack of that, not just in England. I think within coaching, not enough people are actually shown the mirror, especially in the professional game. And hopefully it's done that. People have read it and gone, oh, actually, they don't have to even write anything. As long as someone reads it, and if someone's taken something from it, and then next time they're training, and it's helped, that's the purpose.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned James Clear before. Habit, he discusses in his work about how habits can become identity, and actually then if something in your coaching practice has the mirror held up to it, then that becomes not just a critical lens on the particular coaching session or the way in which you gave your instruction or your feedback. It's an assault on your identity because of the habits that you've got into, and that becomes a really sticky thing. Yeah, it's an interesting lens with which to view coaching, because coaching is really personal and football's a very personal game to many people.
Mm.
And so being able to dissect one's sense of self from the performance of coaching is a really important tool.
Mm.
Mm. Tell me about non-league football.
Where to start? Give me a starting point. Where do you want me to begin?
Well, you know it. National League South with Slough. The amount of people that still come weekly, buy season tickets. They're there on the side. They've got their pint. Come wind, rain, shine.
Yeah.
What does non-league football represent in a way that perhaps the elite game doesn't anymore?
Yeah, I was hoping you'd ask something like that. I'd say it's real life. It's not. You look at the Premier League, commercially driven. It is, unfortunately. People might say it's not. It is. You've got all the sponsors, players getting sponsored, bonuses. Maybe their intentions aren't where they should be. But you look at non-league. I mean, if you look for people who don't understand the football pyramid, maybe listening to this outside the UK, the National League South and National League are still very competitive.
Yeah.
Very, very good levels of football. I mean, there's there's a number of examples we could say, some very good players that have come from non-league and some that still play there. There's some that could play league football and I think still play in the non-league pyramid due to maybe financial motives. But for people who don't understand it or might even be looking at their local club, I'd encourage them to go because it's real life. You can get that personal connection. I mean, these people, 70-80% of them have still got jobs.
Yeah.
And they are doing it. Some of them are still well paid. They're doing it for the passion. And you can be on top and yeah, exciting it is.
It is, isn't it? It's the essence of the game. Volunteers, people pulling pints, people taking tickets, sending people in this direction, that direction, the other in the car park. That community, I think, in a world that is increasingly fractured and opinionated and binary, this way or that way, this colour politically or that colour politically, that I think non-league football represents community in a way that many aspects of life could plug itself back into.
100%. I mean, you touched on it there. Didn't even say that, the volunteers.
Yeah.
I mean, without the volunteers, and I can't even tell you how many there is at Slough. I know there's a low. I can't tell you the exact number, but without the volunteers, I mean, these clubs, some have more money than others. They're running on budgets, and a lot of it goes into overheads, goes into the players' budget. And then without these people, and you'll know examples as well of people that have been involved in clubs for 20 to 30 years, like the kit man, the lady who does the tea. You go back in 4 or 5 years, they'll still be there. And they are what the club are, I mean, and they've probably seen so many managers, so many players. They've seen relegation, they've seen promotion. And you know what? When you're involved in the club, you do get that buy-in and that passion, I don't support a non-league club. I support a team in the championship, but you still get that same connection. You get that emotional drive, and then you want to see your team win,
Yeah, for sure. And I think, as well, it's worth noting, isn't it, for listeners, like your club, and the town it represents, Slough, has always had that kind of it lives in the shadow of its regal sister over the river in Windsor. It gets that kind of like socio-economic lens put on it, doesn't it, culturally? And to have a town like that may go through its ups and downs, to have a community club that brings everyone with the same goal, same purpose, same kind of passion is so important. It's so important.
Sure. And I mean, the people involved in the club currently are very community driven.
Yeah.
They've most recently, relaunched. I think they've just sorted the community side out. They've employed someone. They got another thing, again, we didn't touch on, was just pulling things bit part here is they got the grant from the football league, you know. So
Yeah.
they get a grant, employ someone, which this stuff goes unnoticed as well. He's able to go out to schools, interact with the kids, and again, it's one of them you can chuck out all 200 tickets, only 10 might come, but you know when they come through the gate, they've got that personal connection with the coach, and then they can starting to get the buy-in. And like you said, Slough just outside London, 20-25 minutes on the train, big area, and I think I'd say depending on team performance, the gates are usually quite good.
Good. Adam, I've really appreciated your time today. I appreciate the realism that you have been able to bring to a conversation about the game, which so many know and love. Very few truly understand, and that is fine because it is not the right of the fan to fully understand the game. But I've interviewed, 2 weeks ago, I had a National League manager, former Premier League player, Welsh international on the podcast, who's delivering, this is the game as I know it. It's the game that you will wish you knew, and I'll give you an insight to it. And I love having the polar opposite by speaking to someone who works in the game, is passionate about the game in exactly the same way, but is fully boots on the ground. And I really value that and I appreciate that. And I value your work that you're doing to continue to celebrate that feeling with aspiring coaches and aspiring players. So good luck to you.
No, I appreciate that. Very, very enjoyed the chat, and it was great to meet finally.